Your second body system. We're finished with your integumentary system. I hope you really appreciate the importance and the function of your integumentary system, especially the importance of that epidermis. We know we don't like our epidermis. That's the part that we see, and there's some imperfections there, but there is a function to all of those layers, okay? So now, what are because it is a body system, so it's made up of your bones. That's the main, right? That's, you call it skeletal system. There's also cartilage there, there's ligaments, but the main actors of your skeletal system are your bones of the skeleton. So let's look at the function. I know you know what it supports, right? In other words, it's the main framework. Without your skeleton, gravity will pull you all the way. You'll be like an amoeba. So this one makes sure that that doesn't happen. It protects. I know my brain, my heart. Did you know that your brain? They say, no, not your, but your skull. They say is harder than a coconut husk. So this one is harder than that because you want to protect that nervous tissue over there, your brain. Okay, it's very important for movement. When muscle contracts, you move. So this is the one that moves. Very important for you to tie these two. The mineral storage and detox. What is the mineral that's stored here? Calcium. Yes, very good. You know the common expression, they say you need to drink your milk, take your calcium. Why? So you will have strong bones. Okay. That's, to me, that's not a proper statement. Really. The job of your bone, very important for you to know. As you move on with muscle, with nervous tissue, you will see that you cannot make it with abnormal calcium levels. Calcium is the key so that your muscle can contract. And can you tell me what is the tissue type of your heart? Isn't it
Smooth muscle.
muscle? Cardiac muscle.
Cardiac.
Isn't it cardiac muscle? So if your calcium levels are off, your heart will stop. So that is why, that is the reason we have calcium here. Not to have strong bones, really. That's just my opinion. But to make sure that you have a whole 401k of calcium. And already ATM. Every time your calcium level goes down, you cannot. It's you cannot. The nerves need calcium to function. For blood clotting, you need calcium. You see? Muscle, you need calcium. It's the key. That's why you have it here. So every time your calcium level goes down, like, who drinks coffee? I do. Who drinks tea? Yes. Who drinks beer? Who drinks Pepsi? Oh, they don't like Pepsi. They like Coke or like Mountain Dew. Any kind of sparkling beverage, right? Sparkling, whatever, grape juice, whatever, or wine. Did you know that those beverages that we just talked about, they are high in phosphates, and every time we release them from your kidneys, they need calcium to be released or to be disposed of from your body. Where do you think the calcium is coming from? Your blood, right? So they get it from the blood that's circulating. So at that point, can you picture? At that point, the calcium in your blood is down. So what? But the calcium has to be delivered to your heart. So what is going to happen? You're going to keep drawing from here because you cannot afford to have low levels of calcium. Does it make sense, everybody? So moment by moment, the calcium in your blood should always be normal. If it goes down, where are you going to get here? That's why you store it. This is the key for muscle contraction, for nerve function, blood clotting, and there's many other functions as we move on. And that's why I told you to tie this together, okay? And when I get to this part, I always think about my husband, think about how many times he has been deployed, and I know you may be familiar, maybe you know the Chernobyl incident, right? Where there was a nuclear explosion, and what happened? All the people there were exposed to whatever radioactive chemicals. One thing we need to remember: as long as those chemicals look like calcium, your cells don't know any better. They will grab it and store it in your bone, you see, because it looked like calcium. And then what happens? Here, you don't know that it's storing radioactive chemicals. Then you drink your beer, whatever, so the calcium goes down. What's going to happen? Draw from here. Be sure the calcium in the blood is normal. But what was stored there is not really calcium. And so that's why many years later, what's happening? Cancer, increasing rates of cancer. Because as long as it looks like calcium, it will be stored by your bone. They don't know any better. Okay? That's just what the bone cells do. They just grab, store, grab, store, grab, store. Looks like calcium. Grab, store, grab, store. See? That's why we always salute whoever, those in the service, we salute them. Because it's really, they risk their lives. Okay? Okay, I want you to remember this one. Hematopoiesis, meaning blood formation, your blood cells. Are you familiar with red blood cells? What do red blood cells do?
Transport.
Yes! Oxygen the gases, right? So what do you think? If you have bone problems, do you think you may have problems? You may become anemic? What do you think? Possibly, right? Because that's where your blood cells are formed. Right? If you have blood problems, don't they do bone marrow aspiration, biopsy? Are you familiar with your white blood cells? What do white blood cells do?
Protect your
Yes. So if you have blood problem, if you have bone problems, maybe you may be prone to infection. You think? Maybe, right? Because that's where your white blood cells are formed. How about platelets? What do platelets do? Yes, they control bleeding. So if you have bone problems, maybe you will have bleeding tendencies, right? Because think that's where they are formed, in the bone marrow. So if you have problems with your bone, you will have problems with forming your blood cells. Okay? There is another important compound that is stored in bone, by the way. So I will ask you in the test, bone stores what mineral? Calcium. Bone stores what organic compound? It is fat. The yellow marrow. So this is red marrow. And then, yellow marrow, right? In the beef, I like to make that into soup. You see the fat in there? That's fat. So that's what's being stored. You see the difference? One is inorganic, right? This is inorganic, and fat is organic. Okay? That's also stored in your bone. Okay? So we classify bones according to shape. You have long bones. As long as it's longer than it's wide, even this one here, the terminal phalanges, you see it's thin, it's tall. It is a long bone. Okay? Short bones. The only short bones are the carpals and the tarsals over here. See? As long as it's shaped like a cube. So just this one and then your carpals. They are your short bones. How about what do you call flat bones? As long as you feel a flatness, then that's a flat bone. The pelvis is flat. Ribs, I feel the flatness, flat bone. Okay? Scapula, flat bone. You see that? Sternum, flat bone also. Okay? Even your skull, see the flatness over there, so flat bone. And then, how about your sesamoid bone? This is the patella. It's shaped like a sesame seed. So this is a sesamoid bone. You should be able to classify them according to shape. Okay? And then finally, you have a suture. No. Irregular bone, the bones of the skeleton, the vertebral column. You can't really describe the shape, so you say it's irregular. There are some bones of the cranium, your sphenoid and your ethmoid right here. You come closer, you will see it's irregular. So under your nose, your perpendicular palate, hard palate right there. So that's irregular. And then finally, you have what you call a sutural bone. So this sutural bone is only found in your cranium. So all bones unite or are join another bone at what you call a joint. So your cranium right here is made up of several bones. You have your frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital. So here I see 1, 2, 3. There's 3 bones here. And there, so this is your parietal, that's your occipital. And they are joined together by this suture, like a suture, right? You're sewing them together. But look at, instead of a suture, all of a sudden a bone appears here. So in place of the suture, there's bone. So that's why you call it sutural bone. Some books say they're refer to them as Permian bones. Not all of us will have sutural bones. They only are found in the cranium, by the way, okay? That's your sutural bones. You have any questions so far?
So a sutural bone is surrounded by sutures.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So bones are there's 2 general types of bone, compact and spongy bone. Every bone in the body will have both compact and spongy bone components. Okay? So there's always that hard, dense part called compact, and then the spongy part looks like a sponge. You say it's spongy bone. Where's my plastic of bone? Maybe Wendy took it. Anyway, you like this one right here. See, if you buy your chicken, you cut your chicken in half. You'll see there's a hard, dense part on the outer circumference, and then inside you see those bony spicules. That's the spongy bone. All bones will have both compact and spongy bone component. And it's just my guess is that compact bone is very heavy. So can you imagine if you were carrying around that heavy bone? It's going to be so very difficult for us. Are you familiar with the solid wooden shoes? You ever
Clogs?
tried to wear the clogs, the solid ones? We call it bakya in the Philippines. And if you walk around with that one, sometimes you get so what do you call it? The pain in your
Cramps.
or you get tired, right? Fatigue, because it's so heavy. And that's the same with this one. Even though, by the way, even though the spongy bone looks weak and this one looks tough, they're both strong. This one, the directions of these struts, they're oriented so that it is able to withstand any kind of traumatic stress that we apply ourselves to, like when we jump or bump. They're just as strong as this one. Okay. Okay, let's look at the composition of bone. It is what type of tissue? It is epithelium, connective, muscle, or nervous? Is it epithelium, connective, muscle, or nervous tissue?
It's connected.
Connective tissue, very good. It's solid connective tissue. By the way, let me ask you, is bone also an organ? Yes or no?
No.
Yes. I'm thinking, what is the definition of organ? 2 or more tissue types make an organ, right? Who has ever had a fracture? Was it painful? Did you feel anything when you were fractured? It was painful, right?
Yeah.
So what determines pain? What tissue? Nerves. So I know that there's 2 tissue already. So I know it's an organ. There's connective tissue, there's nervous tissue there, right? And there's epithelium there too, because when you cut your bone, break it in, there's a hollow cavity in there. So there's something that lines that. Anywhere there's exposed, there's epithelium. So it's connective tissue, yes. That's the basic tissue type, but I can also call it an organ. Okay? Okay, let's look at, very important for us to know the components of bone. It's solid connective tissue. And look at its component. I am just so I'm shocked at how much water bone is made of. Some books even say 33% of your bone is water. So if you are chronically dehydrated, don't you think that will affect your bone, right? Like with children, that's why my daughter, I always ask her, how many times did you refill your water bottle? Why? So you can grow. If you don't put in your ingredients, do you think you will grow to your potential? Maybe not, right? So it contains water, which is organic or inorganic?
Inorganic.
Inorganic, very good. Bone also contains the organic component called collagen. So bone is nothing but calcified collagen. It's just made up of collagen fibers that has been packed with calcium, so it becomes hard. Okay? So what are the ingredients? We need collagen. We need water. The recipe to make bone, right? Collagen, water, calcium, and then you also need your bone cells, the cells to make your bone. So what are the cells that make up your bone tissue? Here are the cells. The osteoprogenitor cells or your stem cells. Then the osteoblast, the clast, the osteocyte, and then the osteoblast. We'll study them one by one. This is nothing but the stem cell, this one, okay? Osteoprogenitor. If you don't remember that fancy word, you can just write stem cell. It's just a stem cell. Remember, connective tissue has stem cells. And look at, next to blast, you write B for build bone. This is the one that makes your bone. So how is bone formed? Can you picture in your head? This osteoblast, okay, what they do is they, you like the girls, right, when they're done in the shower or whatever, don't you wrap yourselves around with the towel, right? Like wrap yourself around with the towel like that. That's the same thing with the osteoblast. When they're making bone, they wrap themselves around with a towel of collagen fibers. Don't write out, but they wrap themselves around with collagen fibers. So they pack themselves like that with collagen. Once the collagen fibers are in place, then they start packing calcium salts. Then it becomes hard. Can you picture? So here, let's say in this picture over here, what happens is this osteoblast, G for build bones, okay? So it will wrap itself with collagen. Okay? The yellow one is the collagen. And then once it's wrapped, it packs it with calcium. So what happens? This becomes hard. Yes? You follow? It becomes hard. When it becomes hard, do you agree when I say that in a hard matrix, it's going to be very difficult for nutrients to be delivered to my bone cells, right? It's hard, okay? So what happens to the osteoblast? To solve that problem, they still need to survive, they're not dead. What happens with them is they change shape. See? From a nice cuboidal shape, look this, like this, it changes shape. It starts developing processes so that they can reach. See, these are the hands. Well, don't use the word hands. But there's the processes. They communicate with the next cell. See, do you see that? Do you understand? So what is the osteocyte? It is nothing but a mature osteoblast that has changed its shape so that it can adapt. Because if it stays like this, it's trapped. It can't get nutrients. But if it change and it develop processes like this, it can at least get nutrients. Let's look at, I make my, right here, you see? So there's the osteocyte now. See, there's an osteocyte. You see the processes? See, this is the main osteocyte right here that's getting the nourishment directly there. Then when it gets it, it's going to transfer it with processes to the next one, then the next one to the next one. You see that? Okay? So you understand? The osteoprogenitor, just stem cell. Then the blast, they make the bone. You need the collagen, then packed with calcium, then they become hard. And then they change their names, just like you, right? First you were called baby, then you were called a child, and then you were called pain in the butt after, right? That's the same with this one, right?
Still true.
You understand now? It's just one and the same because they just change names. They change appearance, okay? So of those cells that we discussed, which is the one that makes the bone? The osteoblast. What is the osteocyte? It's the mature bone cell. Yes.
Okay, so the osteoprogenitors are in like the inside, and then like
Yes, very
so
good.
it's kind of like a tree. Like the older ones are on the outside. and-
Yes.
So when it dies, it's okay because like the new ones.
Yes,
inside of
very good. Yes. The only ones in the substance of the bone right here is the osteocyte. It's the one that's trapped. You won't see the blast here, right? The blast, it was blast, now you call it site.
And-
Yes.
Then the center where the nucleus is,
Yeah.
that, never mind, we have to figure it out.
This is the marrow. The
Oh,
central
okay.
canal.
Okay.
Central canal. Okay, then you have this last cell called osteoclast. If you look at this previous slide, you see there's even a line that separates them. So this is one and the same cell. See, it's one and the same. First it was a stem cell, then you call it blast, then it's one and the same. This is a different cell. This is a modified white blood cell. It is it's like a monocyte, and its function is phagocytosis. So why does it need to eat bone to release what?
Calcium.
Yes, very good. It's there. Its job is to eat away the bone, or osteolysis. I hope you know that word. Lysis means to break down the substance, right? To release calcium. See? God put those osteoclasts in there because He knows we cannot survive with abnormal calcium. So every time we drink our beer, automatically, they're right there. Release the calcium. You understand? You understand? So where will I find the osteoclast? Will I find the osteoclast right here in the substance? No. They will be out here or over there, right? The only one I see here trapped is the osteocyte. So before we proceed any further, I want you to look at this bone. Okay? And I like to ask this in the test. Look at, there are two things that can happen to a bone. If we don't provide it with mineral, what mineral again?
Calcium.
Yes. Your bone becomes soft like that, right? Becomes bendable. So look, what if you have kids at home, or maybe you have whatever little friends, the tiny people. What you want to do is you want to do this experiment after you eat your chicken. You keep there's the book. You keep your chicken and soak it in a jar of pure vinegar. This is what I do with my daughter so that she understands not to buy that soda, not to drink soda. See, this is what happens. So you soak it in vinegar, and you replace that vinegar every 3 days. And then look at, so this is bone where the calcium has been leached. And look at what happens now. This is supposed to be hard. Look at what happens. See? You can bend it, no problem. See?
Wouldn't that be better?
Oh my goodness. You see that? Okay? So and that explains if you have some old people, and I always use the example of my father because I always remember him to have nice legs, straight like that. And when I last visited him, his legs were both like that. So I'm sure, see how dynamic bone is? And it, of course, manifests here because this is the one that bears your weight. So it was bowing, lacking in calcium now.
So does that mean when you're still in the womb and the mother isn't getting enough calcium, is that how come some babies come
very
out
good.
with?
Yes. You know, I like to talk about that, but that's Bio 242. That pregnancy and development, that's one of my favorite. I like all the chapters, but that one is just, it's an eye opener how pregnancy is a big risk. You're providing all the ingredients for the baby, yes.
Do all the bones have a similar level of calcium?
That's a very good question. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be necessary because like the bones in your fingers, it could be a little more bendy and it wouldn't have any problem. But like the bones near your legs, if it wasn't like
Try grabbing something with soft bones, or try falling with soft bones in your fingers.
I mean, not a very small change. It's like very. I think it. Yeah, I don't think it'd make a difference, but I don't know.
I don't think so. I think they're all the same. So it has to be. It's not here. You're thinking here less calcium, here more calcium.
I mean, not necessarily. I'm just
No.
saying it's possible.
I don't think so. I think it's all the same. That's what makes bone bone. Okay? So that's a good experiment that you want to do with your kids if you have children. It's just, to me, I'm very visible when I see it. When I can apply it, then I know I can take care of myself better. That's how I approach at least the study of aging. Look at what happens if you are deficient in protein. Remember, collagen is protein. So people with the protein calorie malnutrition, look at it breaks easily. Isn't that what happens with old people too? Because they don't like to eat now and just eat a little bit, then they're full. So sometimes even they say what happened to the lady? She just stood up and then she already had a fracture. So you just want to make sure. I'm going to ask you this in the test, right? So I'll ask you, let's say identify, you're going to write the not this coming up test, but your next lab exam. So I'm going to say, predict what will happen to this bone if it's lacking its mineral content. I'm not going to write calcium. You figure out in your head what I mean by mineral. And then I'll say, predict what will happen to this bone if it's deficient in its protein content. So collagen is protein, right? Okay? So do that experiment. By the way, this is why it's very important also to your vitamin D. D is important for absorption of calcium. I like to ask that, okay? Not all calcium supplements are the same. Don't forget that. You need to pay attention when before you take any medication. You need to read the instructions. We just like to. My husband is guilty. He just likes to. What if it says take it 3 times a day? He'll take it 3 times. He forgets to read. Let's say with a full meal, or if it says he just there's a reason why it says with a full meal or with a tall glass of water. There is a reason for those, okay? And you should know that you can also suffer from overdose. Not overdose is the wrong, but too much, right? Like with calcium, if you have too much calcium, it can calcify not just your bone, but other tissues as well. So don't be. We have this mentality when something is good, we want a lot of it, right? So don't just stick with the recommended. And besides, the body you cannot absorb more than 500 milligrams each time. And the best way for all our supplements, any supplement, I think I told you already. The best way to figure out if the supplement that you bought is good or not, soak it in vinegar again. After 20 minutes, it should dissolve. The vinegar is mimicking the pH in your stomach. Remember that the supplements that you take, your vitamins, any kind of supplement, they are already in their basic form. In other words, what that means is your GI tract has no enzymes to digest that, break it down, so that in your stomach it should dissolve. So when you go to the small intestines, the job of the small intestines is absorb. If it's not dissolved, then you're wasting your money. Does it make sense? So you want to soak it, and then if after 20 minutes it's still like that, or still a lot of it is not dissolved, buy another brand. Okay? Okay, so now we're gonna look at our how bone is formed. But the best way, by the way, here's a nice view of your bone. So the outer part is always compact bone, and then the inner part is always spongy bone. Okay? The You may think this is how compact bone is. See, the reason why it's able to be packed compactly and they still get blood supply is because there's like a highway of blood vessels. You see, so even though they're packed like that, and the cells are arranged concentrically around a central blood supply right there, this inner layer of cells will get the nutrients from there and transfer it there and there and there. They're able to share the wealth. You need to know the different. So this arrangement of the cells in layers is called lamella. We need to know that. I have a bone. You're going to worry about that in your second lab exam. So this arrangement around is called lamella. And you have three types of lamella. Concentric lamella, circumferential lamella, and interstitial lamella. So concentric, right? Circles. This is the concentric lamella. They are arranged around the central blood supply. They form what we call osteons. Osteons are the basic functional units of bone, right here, osteon. Circumferential lamella. This is the lamella around the circumference of the whole bone. Circumferential lamella. And then finally you have the interstitial lamella. Do you see this one right here? This doesn't look like a concentric lamella anymore. You see that? Doesn't look like concentric. Even here, you see that? Those are remnants of the nice concentric lamella before. So this is proof that your osteoclasts eat away the bone, and what's left is that. You see?